Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:07, the 8 o'clock hour. It's always a fun one here on the O'Connor and Company program as Patrice Onwuka skates into her broadcast position with seconds to spare. It's all right. We got to get up and stretch our legs a bit. You got here on time, and you don't need me pointing out to everyone who doesn't know that you were barely in place in time for this hour to begin.
Really, Larry?
I've done worse. Coming up in 30 minutes, Lord knows. Coming up in 30 minutes, Jim Hanson, president of Security Studies Group, served in the U.S. Army Special Forces, I want to talk to him about the revelations now about that Chinese spy balloon, about China's reaction, if there is a military reaction to terrorists, and also about that colonel in the Space Force who was relieved of duty overnight. We'll get to all of that. It's Larry O'Connor and the timely Patrice Onwuka.
And it's a Friday.
Yeah, it is. And Reagan Reese joins us. Reagan Reese, of course, a Hillsdale Charger, and now the White House correspondent for Daily Caller. Do you like that I always introduce you from Hillsdale, Reagan? We got to get the brand out there.
Oh, absolutely. I always say that I'm like their free spokesperson. So I love being associated with the college every turn.
Very good.
You and Wegman. Wegman's also a White House correspondent, also Hillsdale, except he graduated like 10 years before you, right?
Yes, actually. 2015. I'm a 2022 grad.
Okay.
There you go. I was close. All right. Reagan, thanks for making us all feel old, Reagan. So a couple of things. I know you were covering the Trump cabinet, another extraordinary cabinet meeting. Trump's been in office 3 months. He's had 3 cabinet meetings. It begins with open to the press, and then they shut it down, and they get back to business. But quite a bit was revealed. But I would like to first start, if you don't mind, with this scoop you've got about people, illegal immigrants in this country. I guess I shouldn't say illegal because some of them may even be legal immigrants. But it turns out 6,300 of them now, they're getting their parole revoked. And this is amazing. 6,300 of them that the Trump administration has now identified as being either on the terrorist screening center watch list or having a criminal record. That's extraordinary.
Yes, and it's no coincidence that all of these individuals came into the country under the Biden administration. And so this was actually something that was dug up by Elon Musk's Doge, to my understanding of what a White House official shared with me. They're revoking the parole of these 6,300 immigrants. Parole goes to both illegal and legal immigrants, so that's why we can't say all of these people are illegal. But even more damning, I think, is the fact that when you're on parole, you're able to collect benefits. And so of these individuals that they identified, 905 were collecting Medicaid. 4 of those were on the terrorist watch list. $276,000 was paid out. 41 were collecting unemployment insurance, receiving $42,000 in benefits. 22 were receiving federal student loans totaling $280,000, and 409 received tax refunds in 2024, and various other. They're looking into what other benefits they were getting, but those are just the top lines of this story.
This is just astonishing. And so when you hear anyone say, oh, they want to cut benefits for, Republicans want to cut benefits as part of tax cuts. I want to cut benefits to illegal immigrants who are receiving unemployment insurance, federal student loans, Medicaid, when these should be reserved for people who actually qualify. I think this reporting is amazing. Yesterday's cabinet meeting also, Reagan, I was just surprised at some of the things that these different cabinet members are coming forward with. Tulsi Gabbard talked about evidence of voting machines being manipulated, as well as releasing our JFK and MLK documents. What do you make of some of these yesterday's cabinet meeting and some of the cabinet members' big announcements?
Yeah, so I was looking up the media coverage of the cabinet meeting before I got on the air with you guys. And it seems like the framing was like, oh, they're holding this cabinet meeting because they're in complete panic over this trade war across the country. And it seems like the media has forgotten that having regular cabinet meetings is actually supposed to be the normal. And that is something that Trump has committed himself to. President Biden, I think we can count how many cabinet meetings he had on one hand. And we now know from reporting in the Wall Street Journal that aides were going beyond what their job requirements were to, conduct meetings with cabinet officials and kind of do all of the negotiating for the president with his cabinet and talking about these things. So when I look at the media coverage, kind of just glossing over the fact that these cabinet meetings are regular and that these cabinet officials are providing, periodical updates on, the waste, fraud, and abuse they're finding in our country. It just shows me that they're not, they're just, being the media and not really understanding these cabinet meetings.
Just doing what the media do. Exactly. Listen, at least they're covering it at all, right? I mean, I guess that's something. Patrice just mentioned something that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, said there with regard to the RFK and MLK. This really sort of stuck out to me, Reagan, and maybe you've got some more info or follow-up on it.
Investigating, we have the best of the best going after this, election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the.
Whoa. So the Director of National Intelligence just said that she has evidence that electronic voting machines systems are vulnerable to hackers and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results. That's kind of a headline, I would think.
Yeah, right. That's something I expected when I Googled the meeting today to find as a top line, and it was really nowhere to be found. In terms of election integrity, I think what we have seen from the last election cycle was that the GOP really has gotten its feet on the ground. They are dug into the election integrity sphere in ways that they have not been able to do before. They were previously under a consent decree that since 1980, which was keeping them from being able to dive into election integrity and investigate these issues. And I've been having a lot of conversations with the RNC over the past couple of weeks. And they, it's an off election year. Instead of ramping down their election integrity efforts, they're actually staffing up. They're bolstering their efforts. They're putting boots on the ground across the country. And so this is something I don't expect to go away, especially on the GOP and RNC effort as they really dive into election integrity and open more investigations and lawsuits, et cetera. I think you're going to hear more about this, hopefully from me.
I mentioned it that Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, she's mentioned that we're going to be releasing RFK Jr. and MLK reports. If we can play cut 29, if possible, it's so quick, but I'd love your response to it.
Bobby, how do you feel about that? That's hitting,
I'm very gratified to hear.
That's hitting close to home, isn't it?
No
When you think,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Bobby when that statement's made.
I'm very grateful to you, Mr. President.
I would just love for you to respond to that.
Yeah, I think that's a great update that they're scanning through those documents as much as possible. I'm listening to our audience as well. They're dying to know where the rest of the Epstein files are. And so that's also something we're going to be staying on top of at the Daily Caller. We hear them, we hear their concerns, we're asking questions, and hopefully should have some reporting on that front soon.
All right, we'll leave it there. Reagan Reese, always great job doing Hillsdale, Michigan proud. Always good to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And remind Wegman how old he is next time you see him. It is 8:15, WMAL traffic and
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
A little bit more from this cabinet meeting yesterday. We've already touched on some of the things that Tulsi Gabbard said and revealed, not just more news about the RFK, JFK assassinations and MLK, but this that stunning statement about voting machines.
Yes.
And voting machines being vulnerable to hackers and manipulation of results. Watch that space. And then came time. Each cabinet member had a chance to sort of say what the top line executive brief issue is that they've been focused on, or give some results of cost savings, DOGE savings, other aspects. Is some great stuff. And like we're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars of savings and cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse. And then it came time for the aforementioned Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to make a statement. And, well, once again, rather extraordinary, which has not gotten a lot of coverage.
Yes.
Take a listen.
We are going, at your direction, we are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it? And there's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
There will be no bigger news conference than that. So that's it. If you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. It can't be from 10,000 to. Can you imagine that, Marco? That's a big number. Thank you very much. You're doing great.
It's big news. I'll be honest with you.
It's massive.
I need my son is on the autism spectrum, and let me just say, when you say it used to be 1 in 10,000, now it's 1 in 30 or whatever, a lot of that has to do with undiagnosed cases of people being on the autism spectrum or Asperger's syndrome or what have you, because what 25 years ago was sort of quirky behavior is now sort of properly diagnosed as having some level of autism, and not all people on the autism spectrum are the same. My son is 18 years old, and he is still non-audible. He is not able to speak, which I take as God's little sort of reminder to me as a person who uses words on a daily basis that sometimes communicating with people is not just about how well you can put words together. I would like to express concern about this by September thing, because when somebody says by September we're going to know what caused this, it suggests to me that they already have a preconceived notion as to what caused it, and now they're just looking for evidence to support that prior. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go about doing this. I also would beg parents of children with autism to not look at their child's condition as a disease that has been caused by something and requires a cure. Your child is beautiful and amazing and is just different than other children. That said, if we can figure out and isolate a propensity for people developing symptoms of the autism spectrum, and we can eliminate that or work on that, I think that's a great thing. But I remain skeptically optimistic if it's possible to be such things at the same time.
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to be the reverse. I'm going to be optimistically skeptical. I'm going to believe, I'd like to see something so widespread. I mean, the way he described it, this would be a very massive and sweeping study involving, I think he said hundreds of researchers potentially. And so if there hasn't been this kind of research.
And that's my point. Studies like that don't happen in a handful of months, generally speaking, right?
Unless it's already been underway for some time. I mean, I think that it's going to, the proof will be in the pudding, but it's interesting, and it's important that the science continues to evolve. And you know what? I think somebody will feel justified and somebody will feel, wronged in some way. But if there's more information and that we can arm parents with and pediatricians with, the medical community with, then I think that can only be a good thing.
Yep.
So I'm going to remain optimistic.
8:20. I hear you. 8:23. I'm not pessimistic. I'm just optimistically skeptical. It is 8:23.
Now, on on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:37, 30 minutes from now, we'll hand it off to Chris Plant. It's Larry O'Connor and Patrice Onwuka. Morning, Patrice.
Good morning, Larry. Happy Friday. And I'm in my seat on time after my potty break. Thank you.
I should praise you. If I admonished you when you were running a little late, I should praise you for being so incredibly punctual. Here she is, the very punctual Patrice Onwuka. And, of course, Jim Hanson is always on time. He's a retired Army soldier. So, they basically, when you're U.S. Army, you're always on time because we set the clock by your actions.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
no matter where Jim Hanson goes and no matter what time it is, he's on time. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you guys.
Where to begin? I'd like to start with the overnight news. This commanding officer at the Space Force base in Greenland has been relieved of command because she sent out an email that, there's no way to describe it. It directly undermined the chain of command, undermined J.D. Vance. Oh, you may have heard the vice president say this when he was here, but we disagree. And so, as long as I'm the commanding officer here in Greenland, well, she didn't last very long, did she, Jim? And is there anything inappropriate about the Pentagon's move here? There's no way she's fit for command with that kind of behavior.
No, and I appreciate the honesty. There are a lot more of these type of officers in the military right now after 4 years of Joe Biden's wokeness, and then you had a 4-year break from Trump, and then 8 years of Obama before that. So there has been a basically 12 out of 16 years they have been promoting to the highest ranks of command people who fundamentally disagree with, in some cases, the oath they took to the Constitution. So please speak out, tell us how you feel, do the right thing, be a brave resistance officer, and get relieved from command and demoted. Hopefully, she definitely deserves a demotion and a quick retirement.
You know what I found interesting about this story is that she apparently sent this email around the 31st. J.D. Vance had visited a couple of days before that on the 28th, but the story broke last night that she was relieved. So, do you think there should have been how do you think it even came to the attention of her higher ups? Was it that maybe somebody who received it flagged it for someone higher up the chain, the command chain? And how do we kind of decrease the lag time so when these folks put out these ridiculous emails that it gets flagged right away to the right people who can get them relieved from their duty?
Yeah, I'd like to know exactly what the time frame was. I'll still say that inside of 2 weeks is relatively swift for military justice. There's a lot of bureaucratic nonsense.
That's fair to say.
I mean, it is. The military is a giant bureaucracy. But I think at this point there is an empowerment of the counter resistance. And now, having the entire Trump administration sweep in, Pete Hegseth, the rest of the people Trump has appointed are not going to put up with this nonsense. And the people who have been beat down by the man or the woman or the not a man or a woman who's in command now feel empowered to act. And I think that's going to speed that cycle.
Yeah. Let's, if we can quickly play cut 31, this is Pete Hegseth on the Chinese spy balloon. Remember that? 2 years ago it was the Chinese spy balloon. Go.
Types of things, the ways in which the Biden administration undermined U.S. national security are astounding. And now we know they didn't want to stop the spy balloon from flying, which is anyone with common sense who understands what the Chinese do to surveil us.
Jim, we're learning now that they knew about this thing. They saw it, as we assumed they did, over Alaska. Civilians spotted it over, I believe, Montana. They didn't shoot it down until it had cleared the 48 over South Carolina, over the ocean. But their main priority was to communicate with China and say, hey, we got to do something about this, because what happens if the citizens find out? What happens if Americans see that you're doing this? Their worry was diplomatic relations with China, not about the fact that they were surveilling us so brazenly.
Yeah, it was shameful. The entire foreign policy apparatus and national security apparatus of the Biden administration was like the B and C team leftovers from the Obama administration, who they even, the best players they had fundamentally disagree with American power and America as the sole superpower acting like that. So they put us in a position where they actively undermine our strength because we're just a global citizen. We're just one of many nations. We're not exceptional. And that's absolute garbage. We are the sole superpower. We need to act like it. And we need to use our Navy to do things like, I don't know, maybe allow ships to transit the Red Sea and have global trade. Those are things that the U.S. military is designed for, and it's great to see them returning to action.
Speaking of returning to action, I think looming over all of our minds are nuclear capabilities of Iran. And we understand that tomorrow the Trump administration will be in direct talks with Iran. What are you hoping or looking for in that conversation, in those negotiations?
I will be shocked if the Iranians agree to any deal worth the paper it would be signed on. They're acting pretty belligerent, but it's always hard to tell. What I don't think will happen is the Trump administration making a deal that actually allows them a path to a nuclear weapon. That's been one 100% ironclad guarantee. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's intolerable. And I think if Iran somehow decides to play tough guys, last year when the Israelis made their reply to the Iranian attempt to send like 600 missiles at them, which they shot all down, they cleared a path to Iran's nukes. That's what that return mission was about. They took out the air defense and early warning systems Iran had in Syria and their own country that were on the path to their nukes. So there's still an open path to fly there and blow that stuff up. They may replace it, and that's why there's kind of an urgency. But that would be the response if Iran acts stupidly at these negotiations in Oman.
Uncle Jimbo, Jim Hanson, president of Security Studies Group. Always good to talk with you, my friend. I earlier introduced you as Kurt Schlichter without the charm, and just wanted to make sure that was flagged by you so you can change your bio on X.
I'm going to go ahead and throw a flag on that play, Larry. We all know Kurt Schlichter.
It is 8:44.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Hey, good time to remind you, I'm filling in for the great one, Mark Levin, today. So,
awesome.
If you feel at this point in the show, right toward the end of O'Connor and Company, it's like, gee, 4 hours just isn't enough. I wish I could get 3 more hours of Larry O'Connor. Good news, everybody. 6 to 9 Eastern tonight, right here on this radio station. We have critter news. It just happened about an hour ago, Patrice. It's stunning.
Okay.
There's a bit of a visual that we will put out on our social media. But during Fox and Friends, our friend Peter Doocy, White House correspondent for Fox News Channel, is doing one of those stand-ups in front of the White House with the White House in the background. And as he's talking about very important things, Peter Doocy was attacked. Peter Doocy was attacked by a critter. Let's listen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Peter, I appreciate it.
A bird just landed on my head.
What is going on? What was that about?
I did not like that at all.
Peter, the back of your head, your hair's standing up now.
I mean, you got good hair, though.
What is going on?
That's probably so dirty.
Had to be scary.
Doocy is freaked out. These dirty, slimy rats with wigs get off of my head.
No.
And it did. This was Hitchcockian, actually. This was right out of The Birds, man. Remember that movie? Take a
One of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Peter Doocy, the Tippi Hedren of the White House Correspondents Association, getting attacked by birds, just like the Swedish femme fatale in Alfred Hitchcock's terrifying movie in that phone booth here. Remember, it was bad. And it's true. This bird, if you look at the video, and we'll put it out there, it roosted. It like landed on his head.
You could tell it was gripping his head.
Yeah, he swatted it away, and then it circles back and dive bombs him. Like he tries to peck his eyes out. Take a listen again. Take a listen.
Yeah, Peter, I appreciate it.
A bird just landed on my head.
What is going on?
Was that a bird?
What was that about?
right. I did not like that at all.
Peter, the back of your head, your hair standing
would not
up.
like
Oh,
that.
man.
You got good hair,
Oh,
though.
man.
What's going on?
And
The
if I were
hazards.
Peter,
Maybe it was it could have
You
been
don't
an
know if the-
MSNBC drone. I'm just saying.
well, you don't know if the bird has anything, bird flu. You don't know if the bird could have pooped on his head and messed up his coat. You could tell I have never seen Peter Ducey frazzled, and he sends out
Yeah,
some
that's
tough
true.
questions. But this is the first time he breaks the stoicism, and he's just like, get me out of here right away.
He's got nice hair. It's true. It's great television hair,
It's
but let's
very
be
nice
clear.
hair.
It is blonde. It is thick. I'm gonna say it. It resembles a bird's nest, and it's he's
No,
just
it does
this is
not.
what he gets.
It does
in
not,
its own
Larry.
way,
Don't be jealous. You're being jealous now.
Just a little. It's 8:52. Patrice, have a great weekend and dodge those raindrops today and tomorrow.
I will. You too.
Look who's here. It's our television and radio buddy, Chris Plant.
What do you say? What do you know? Huh? What's going on the crazy world? It's Matt. Turns out the Chinese are communists. You hear about that? They're communists, and that can never lead to good things.
Like-
communism.
I thought Mao was just a champion of the farmers and working man.
Hey, well, hear the Democrat Party tell the tale. That's true. Also, you see the sad story of a man that died on a New York City subway train. On a New York City subway train. And if that's not bad enough, let me tell you, that's where things really got weird. Because New York is not what it used to be. It got weird from that point on. Got that coming up. And all kinds of mayhem out of Washington, D.C. Some of it is actually good mayhem, though.